The sirens came first, tearing through the quiet air by the lake like a knife, red and blue lights bouncing off the water, neighbors stumbling out in their bathrobes, clutching coffee and whispering. And there I was with suds still clinging to my hands from washing my Civic, blinking like an idiot, while two squad cars roared up my gravel driveway as if I was running some kind of illegal operation out of my little lakeside cabin. You want to know what for? A doorbell camera? Yeah, that happened. I hadn't even finished screwing it into the frame before my life turned into a bad reality show. The real culprit. Linda Carter, the HOA president next door, was standing on her porch, arms folded, staring at me like I was a wanted fugitive. The second those cops started up my driveway, she was right behind them, pointing, voice shrill as a tea kettle, telling anybody who'd listen that I was recording neighborhood children and destabilizing the harmony of Lake Haven. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about some property line, this was war. When I bought this cabin, I thought I'd finally found a sliver of peace. 35 newly divorced, broke in more ways than one, but hungry for a reset. 2 acres under the oaks, a dock that caught the sunrise just right, and silence, honest to God silence, the kind you only get in a place that doesn't even get cell service half the time. And it was mine, free and clear. The real estate agent said it plain this land was here long before the HOA was a glimmer in some developer's eye. No dues, no rules, no nosy board breathing down my neck about paint samples or mailbox heights. For the first time since my life had gone sideways, I could actually breathe, or so I thought. But peace never lasts, right? Especially not with Linda Carter around. I'll never forget that morning she marched across my yard. 9 a.m. sharp navy blue suit, pressed so stiff it looked like body armor folder in her hand, like a police badge. She never smiled, just jabbed her finger at my brand new smart doorbell and barked, "That comes down now." I remember staring at her drill still in hand, half convinced I was being punked. "Ma'am, this is my property. I'm not in your HOA. She gave me this look, a smile that never made it to her eyes. "Around here, everyone complies. You've got 48 hours. And then she whipped out photos of other houses, fences chopped down, cameras ripped off the wall, paint jobs that matched her personal mood ring. It was like she collected them for sport. Then she leaned in the scent of her perfume, thick as lacquer, and whispered, "You'll regret it, Mr. Miller." You ever have one of those moments where your brain just short circuits? That was me standing there realizing this woman had just declared war over a doorbell. But I tried to move on. I mowed my lawn, kept my head down, washed the car, pretended it was just some power trip. But 3 days later, those squad cars rolled up. 2 cops stepped out all business while Linda stalked across the grass, folder stuffed with evidence. She told the officers my cameras were illegally surveilling children, spitting out statutes she'd clearly cobbled together from Google and late-night HOA Facebook groups. And I stood there, frozen, neighbors circling, judging. For a split second, I wondered if I'd actually done something wrong, like maybe there was some weird clause buried in the closing paperwork. I thought about how hard I'd fought to own this place after everything else in my life had fallen apart, and my stomach turned. Part of me wanted to cave, just rip the camera down, apologize, let her win, so I could go back to my coffee in peace and quiet. But then I heard my dad's voice in my head. He spent his whole life fighting for every scrap of land he ever owned, never signed anything without reading it twice. Never let anyone push him off his ground. "Your property is your freedom," he always said. I dug out my deed right there on the porch and told the cops, "I'm not in their HOA. Here's the paperwork." They pulled up the county records. Sure enough, I was right. The officers told Linda in no uncertain terms she had no authority over my cabin. Case closed, right? You wish. Linda lost it. I mean, screaming at the cops, demanding their supervisors, yelling about community standards and moral obligations, while the neighbors started inching away, pretending not to see. One of the cops even warned her about abusing 911 for personal beefs. She shot me a glare so cold it burned, and I knew right then this wasn't over. So I started digging. Took a day off work and planted myself at the county courthouse, flipping through boxes of HOA and corporation records. 4 hours in, I found enough screw-ups to make a judge choke missing signatures boundary maps that didn't match a developer who'd gone belly up and left more holes than Swiss cheese in their legal paperwork. Lake Haven HOA was built on sand. But then I got lucky. In a box from my late father's estate, buried under receipts and photos, I found the real bombshell, a deed. 5 acres on this lake, my father's name, dated 1998. Not just my little cabin, but the entire stretch where the HOA's fancy clubhouse stood. Their precious headquarters wasn't even theirs. My family owned it. I just sat there surrounded by dusty boxes, laughing like a maniac because the same woman who called the cops on me for a doorbell had been trespassing on Miller family land for 15 years. Every meeting, every vote, every HOA cookout illegal. Suddenly, I wasn't the outsider. I was the landlord. Now, I didn't want to go nuclear right away. I started quietly talking to neighbors, piecing together Linda's reign. Bob, the retired electrician, told me how his mother got hounded until she sold her house just because she parked her Buick facing the wrong direction. Carol, single mom down the street, said Linda fined her thousands for ceramic gnomes. Janet, the HOA treasurer, whispered about budgets Linda cooked and legal fees spent without any actual votes. The more I listened, the more I realized everybody had a scar. And Linda, she doubled down. Plastered my door with violation notices, spread rumors that I was planning to build a Walmart on the lake, sent her loyalists to spy on me at the diner. She even tried to organize a petition to protect community values. It felt like living under surveillance in my own house. Not gonna lie, there were nights I sat out on that dock, staring at the water, wondering if maybe I should just walk away. Let her win, start fresh somewhere else. The paranoia, the isolation, the weight of it all, it gets to you. But then I'd pull out that old deed, run my finger across my dad's signature, and feel the anger flare up again. This wasn't just about me, it was about protecting what he built. When I finally requested a public board meeting, Linda accepted like she couldn't wait to humiliate me in front of the whole community. She packed that clubhouse, my clubhouse with residents, had slideshows ready, her loyalists up front. You could feel the tension in the air like right before a thunderstorm. I walked in carrying boxes, evidence, surveyor's report, and an attorney who specialized in HOA law. My hands were shaking, but I made sure my voice wasn't. I laid it all out: harassment timeline, false police reports, bogus fines, the works. And then something happened. Bob stood up and told his story, his mother, his pain. Carol, voice trembling, talked about crying over garden gnomes while her kids slept. Janet confessed about the shady finances. Even Michelle, the secretary who'd spied for Linda, admitted she'd been threatened for asking questions. The room shifted right in front of me. Suddenly, everyone was looking at Linda, not me. And then for the final blow, I put my father's deed on the table. Survey maps, legal proof, the whole 9 yards. 15 years of trespassing, every meeting, every vote, every potluck, illegal. The silence was brutal. Linda's face ran through all 5 stages of grief in about 30 seconds. Denial, rage, panic, you name it. She screamed that the documents were fake, demanded more surveys, even accused me of fraud. But her own lawyer backed me up. And then in her desperation, she let something slip. Your father promised me this land would be community space. The whole room gasped. A secret deal. A broken promise. Turns out her crusade was personal. She'd turned a grudge against my family into a 15-year campaign of control. The board stripped her of power right there. And then came the final twist without legal standing. The HOA had no right to the clubhouse. If they wanted to keep it, they'd have to lease it from me. At market rate, triple what they'd been paying. And Linda Carter, the woman who once threatened to have me arrested over a doorbell, had to sign that lease with shaking hands. Couldn't even look at me. Every month, she'd have to mail a rent check to the guy she tried to run out of town. As I walked out of that clubhouse, my clubhouse neighbors whispering documents tucked under my arm, I didn't feel like gloating. I felt something deeper, justice, the kind you taste in your bones. So let me ask you, what would you have done? Backed down or stood your ground? Ever had to fight for what's yours when the world lined up against you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your own stories of standing up to bullies, HOA or otherwise. And if you're out there fighting your own battle, don't let go. Sometimes justice really does come back around.